I don't know if you saw the news, but Call of Duty's massive development budget revealed $700 million for Black Ops Cold War. And it's also like $640 million for Modern Warfare 2019, $450 for Black Ops 3. So let's talk about that. And also, this is Stephen Totila's website, GameFile. It's gamefile.news. You should go follow him. It's really good. He used to be the editor of Kotaku. And people like to knock Kotaku. He really did a really nice job there, and this newsletter is really good. But let's break down why the $700 million isn't that crazy. And no, you couldn't do this. So I kind of want to use some of the feedback that I've seen about people talking about this. And so first of all, these budgets and this scale, you have to remember what they're chasing. They're not chasing to have an okay game. They're chasing to make billions of dollars. And it's really hard to make billions of dollars. $1 million is closer to zero than $1 billion, right? It's just the scale that between the difference of like having a budget of 5 million and having a budget of almost $1 billion is crazy. And let's be clear, people got really mad at me that I said GTA 6's budget was over $1 billion. Trust me, look at these numbers. It is well over $1 billion. And so what is this about? Like, you see a lot of people being like, I saw some commentaries of like, well, you gave me 100 million. I could just be just as efficient. No, you couldn't. So one of the things is, you couldn't just like do the thing where you take like, let's make 50 small games. No, because none of those generate enough money. None of those are going to be big enough that you can put the marketing muscle behind it. None of those are big enough that you can put your company focus behind it. They're just not worth it. That's when people will be like, oh, this game's too small. Even though it's a good idea, it's not worth it for a big company. That's how that happens, because it's a big machine that has to get focused on this, right? And Call of Duty is definitely a machine. And all those risks of doing 50 small ones, you have to then go get people to know about it. You've got to like get them to want to be excited about it. Like, it's a bunch of work, and none of those are going to make near a percentage of this, right? I mean, and marketing is a big thing. I know we all think marketing is evil and bad, and I'm bad at it, relatively. But like, you're on my channel, and I bet you don't know the name of my game. Santa Crisis. You can pick it up. It's not on sale. It's $10. It's like on sale. But like, their marketing to get through to sell the number of copies that games like this sell is just gigantic. I mean, when we did Left 4 Dead 2, we did a bunch of marketing like this. We did a bunch of TV ads around sporting events. We did a bunch of billboards. We even did a billboard one in Cleveland. My parents could drive by and see it. They had an extra one. They gave it to us for free. They're really nice. They sent a picture and told my mom how to find it so she could see it. What are you going to do? But I guess it's really hard to get people to know about things. And especially, you're following me, if you are following me, but you're like tuned in. You're a gamer. You're like, you this is what you're about. This reaches more mainstream, more just casual audience. And it's just really hard. It's really expensive. And so you need to have something big enough. And so the quote here we're going to look at the most expensive one, Black Ops Cold War. I don't think it was the best. Treyarch and Raven Software took years to create the game with a team of hundreds of creatives. So years, hundreds, right? Budgets, like, especially Treyarch and Raven, you have people who've worked there a long time. You want them to be well paid. They should be well compensated. They are. They've been there for years. Ultimately, they spent over $700 million in development costs over the game's life cycle. 30 million copies sold. But remember, the 30 million copies sold isn't the only profit anymore. And this is why you can spend so much money on these games, is because the most hardcore are then spending money in the game. And they're just spending even more money. And so now all of a sudden you look at that and you go, okay, we can make $1 billion. We can spend a lot of money making this. We can take a lot of risks. We can take a lot of changes. I know you're saying risks. They don't take risks. Sure they do. They mix that up all the time. Like, that game is changing inside of there. I didn't care for the stealth this year, but like, they're trying different things, whatever. But again, it's that scale. Like, they've got to like that machinery going. And so the other thing I saw a lot of people kind of mad at was like, oh, well, they first of all, small devs can't make something this big. You can't. It's one of the problems. But also, like, oh, they eat up small devs because they get them to make maps for the multiplayer and all kinds of stuff like that. That's often a lifeline to those devs, right? They're between projects. They don't have funding. That saves those devs. I know you're going to be mad at me for saying that, because there's a lot of like, oh my God, this indie dev worked on this. As somebody who's gotten offers to work on a very big major IP from my little indie studio, that would have helped us. It was just I won't talk about the project because the guy was coked out of his mind. I want to talk about that instead, and I don't want to do the two. But oh my god, either that or like he just talked about cake. He rambled on for 20 minutes about cake. We'll get split it like cake. It's like vanilla cake. Vanilla cake, is vanilla cake a flavor? But like, maybe he was just on sugar. Maybe that was just it. But I've seen those eyes before. But like, that's the weird side of the industry. Most of it's not like that. It's way more efficient. But you have these they come out, they reach out to you, and they're like, hey, do you want to go work on this project? And you're like, yeah, because I need the money. And what they'll be is like, you just tell us what your costs are, and then you add 10%, and that's your profit. And that's what you're going to do. That is awesome for an indie dev. So don't feel bad for those studios. It probably saved them. But yeah, we've seen this, right? They conglomerate a bunch of studios that are all just working on the same project because it needs to be big enough that they can then put the marketing muscle behind it and get it out. And that's what they need to do. And the same thing's going to be GTA 6, man. It's going to be the one, you know, that game's going to launch when you turn on the TV and you see nothing but GTA 6 commercials because they're going to spend a shitload of money marketing because they know they're going to make it back. And no, your little indie 50 games can't make that money back. And you can't break through and you can't get that mind share. And that's one of the problems, right? It's not a problem, it's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, these things should exist. It's cool that they exist, right? I think the only people that, like, can come near this for this kind of game are probably going to be EA with the new... So, I think with the new Battlefield, by the way. But I think the Call of Duties are going to have a year break, they said. If Battlefield launches during that and Grand Theft Auto 6 doesn't launch during that, they have an opportunity, right? But they're going to spend a lot of money. They've got a bunch of people working on it. But yeah, games are expensive at this scale. But this is like a scale that, like, I don't even think about or care about. As a developer, this isn't the world I play in, and I could look at this and like, what would I do? I don't care. I don't even think about it anymore, because I just don't. Like, it's just not interesting to me. It's just not like, well, if you were given the keys to Call of Duty, what would you do? I'm like, oh my God, I'd cry. I don't want to work that hard. Oh, shh. But yeah, like, these crazy budgets are like this for a reason. I mean, the more surprising thing for me is I forgot that the Last of Us Part 2 cost $220 million. That did not see the big return that these did. I can't play games where you hurt dogs. But yeah, I mean, I think people liked it, right? It just wasn't as big as The Last of Us Part 1. I want a luxury world I can't take. But yeah, Call of Duty, man. You can be cool. You can say you don't like it. Like, you're too cool for school and they're losers and it's a bad game, but it still sells a gajillion copies. I mean, all three of these years they talk about is 43 million, 41 million, 30 million. That's a lot of money. Because that's just not the sales. That is all that crazy in-app purchases. Oh, and all this came out during a lawsuit, and Steven was just digging through it and got it. So that's good. Again, good work for him. It's gamefile.news. Gamefile.news. Make sure to follow.